call this thing to order. If Chris comes, she'll come. Rich will jump in whenever he's available. So you're
Call to
chairman,
order.
Mr. Barrett.
I make a motion to call the meeting to order.
Second.
Okay.
Anyone in favor?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Gene
everybody in
was.
favor of this, or do we want to just sit here? Because I'm fine either way.
Sure.
I seconded it, so.
Yeah. So first, I want to welcome Michelle to the board. Michelle jumped
Hi.
on board with us in May, and a lot happened that we couldn't meet in May and we couldn't meet in June. So Michelle, welcome. We look
Thank
forward to
you.
working with you for sure.
Of
And
course.
after tonight, if at some point you want to sit down and chat and kind of catch up on everything up to this point, I'm always available. So just let me know, okay?
Sounds great. Thank you.
So just going through agenda wise, so obviously, a lot's happened between last time we met and today. So let me go thoroughly through summer. We'll go thoroughly through fall programming, and then we'll go to the facilities, we'll do the fields, and we'll end up with a pickleball discussion because there's a lot happening in that world right now. And I really want Rich to be part of that conversation. So summer wise, I will say in my 21 years of doing this, it was by far my most challenging. Programmatically, things were fine, but just a lot of weird things that I haven't had to deal with in 21 years. So, we had a custody issue that I had to deal with parents. Fortunately, the courts figure all that stuff out for me, and my job's just to make sure that their intentions are what we deliver on. We had the flooding at the high school gym, which I'll get into that whole situation right around the 4th of July that happened, and that caused absolute chaos. Our online system for registration and all that stuff went down for a period of time this summer, and not just us, nationwide. It went down, so that caused a lot of headaches. And we had a volunteer CIT who decided one day when I was away on vacation for the first time that I ever go away during the summer, who decided to skip out of camp and leave. So we had a lot of good times. A lot of times I was questioning myself this summer. So, like I said, the custody issue was taken care of. That was one of our first weeks. Not to get into all the specifics and certainly no names, but we had a mom who registered her children very last minute. I mean, we're talking 7:48 on a Monday morning for a program that begins at 9. So that to us is normally oh, wow, this is really last minute. What are these people doing? And then we find out the story that she needed to go to court that day against her ex-husband for whatever it was. And a couple days later, I'm getting a letter from the ex-husband's attorney that he has parental rights of the kids for the next 6 weeks. And, mom and stepdad are, upset about this, and they can't have contact with the kids when they're being picked up by dad, but they want to leave little things for the kids. It was a big to-do. I feel awful for the kids because they're the ones who are mixed up in all this because their parents can't figure out their stuff, or there's things going on that we'll never know about. And I have no idea what happened to the kids after that. That's the last time that we saw them. But it was a tough situation. I was the one who had to break the news to the kids that they were going to their dads for 6 weeks. Again, something that I haven't had to do before. But it was like talking to my own children at that point. So, the recreation director hat comes off, dad hat comes on, and that's how we talked to them and made sure that they were okay and that they understood that mom loves them, and stepdad loves them, but there's people who are saying that you need to go stay with your dad for a little while, and in a few weeks you'll be able to see your mom. So it was a hard situation. There's no training for this kind of thing. It's you just got to do it. So I did it. So we had that, and then, like I said, the high school gym flooded. So around the 4th of July, as we all know, construction's going on there, and apparently there's some sort of a drain on the roof of the gym or the roof of the school. So obviously it's a flat roof and it has whatever around it, and water can pile up there. Get it? There's a drain that will filter it down into a leaching field somewhere. Well, the drain was capped. when they were doing some work. So, and nobody asked questions, as far as I'm concerned, nobody asked questions as to, well, what does this lead to? Why is this here? And that led to so much water on the gym that all of a sudden it started pouring into the high school gymnasium and rippled the floor.
Oh, I was gonna ask you about that. It just ruined
Rippled.
it.
And so
Damn,
I think I got a call on July 8th, I think it was. I think it was a Saturday morning that here was a situation. The gym was going to be unplayable, unusable for at least 2 days, but maybe a week. And we had summer basketball clinic with Kim Penny, one-on-one basketball clinic, which has been going on for decades now, quite literally, with 100 kids involved in the program. And we needed to shift immediately. So we tried to see if we could use the Galvin. Unfortunately, the day that we needed to do it was also the first day of the Wakefield Academy programming, where they have 600 something kids coming through the school. So that was a no. No other gym could really handle our needs. So we moved to the outdoor courts at Galvin. And of course, it was the hottest week of the summer. So thankfully, DPW was fabulous with me, as they always are. They came down with 7 to 8 tents that they set up every day so we could have a cooling area. They brought down water jugs and gave us access to the Galvin to be able to go fill up water jugs. They'd get ice for us so the kids could remain cool. And we dealt with that for the week. Well, on the Thursday of that week, I got a call from the school department saying, we brought in these huge oversized humidifiers, dehumidifiers, and it's not working. So I said, all right, well, we have another camp next week that's so small. It was SNL. They were doing a drop-in program. I said, fine, if you can give me Dolbear, that'll work. So, great. We have a whole nother week to go through. Met at the school with Tim O'Brien from facilities, who's fantastic. Kayla Weiland, who is the high school volleyball coach. Brendan Kent, who was AD at the time. We'll go over that stuff. And Jay Pavey, who is the high school girls basketball coach. And we looked at the gym, and it was, like I said, very rippled all the way throughout the entire court. Kayla felt for her program, because it was volleyball and the ball's in the air more than obviously than on the ground, there's no dribbling required, she could still function within that space. So we made plans to go ahead and do that. On Friday, I got a call from the high school, like, you need to come down and check this out. I went to the gym, and there were bubbles in the gym now that were up to my knee. So apparently underneath the wood floor was the old composite floor. So if you've been to the high school field house, on one side, there's like the gray composite floor with the track around it. That was underneath the basketball floor as well. If water got underneath, lifted. So again, we tried to go through Academy and see if we could use the Galvin for that program. We could not. We thought about trying to do it on the town common, but we need to get nets. There was a lot of logistics to go through with it. And this was a program that was full with 50 kids in it. We ended up having to cancel it. There was just no safe, right way to do it. I had reached out to the contractor of the high school project bond to see if they would be willing to comp us for lost revenues, more so not for me, but for the high school program, because it was a fundraiser for them, and for the staff who had already scheduled time off from whatever they do to run this program. They told us it wasn't their fault and that we need to go to somebody else. So I got the whole runaround. Kayla eventually told me just to drop that whole thing. And then we found out that this was going to be a permanent issue. There's no fix to this. The floor needed to be replaced. So the school department was able to get me Galvin for the rest of the summer. But it was a headache for several weeks that I hope I never have to deal with again. We know that obviously there's, in everything that we do, especially when we're using space, we are at the risk or at the mercy of those we're using space from. but this was obviously an unusual circumstance. So the floor has been replaced, or was replaced by early September. So high school could get all this stuff done, but we really lost out on that end this summer. As far as when I went away for a couple days, like I said, I don't think I've ever gone away during the summer because I feel like I have to always be there. And until I'm able to clone myself, I don't want to clone myself, but until that can happen, it's hard for me to go away because I'm very much a control freak. We have volunteer CITs that we allowed to come to the program, help us out. One day we had a young man who it was a Friday. He came to the program first thing in the morning. His mom dropped him off. He told our staff first thing in the morning, and we know the family very well. Oh yeah, my mom said I can leave at noon today. And again, these are middle school kids who don't sign up for the program. They're usually 8th, 9th graders. And we said, okay, we've known him forever. And he left camp at noon. Well, his father, a short time later, came to pick him up. Actually, no, I'm sorry, that wasn't the story. Sorry. Somebody found his phone by Lake Quannapowitt. So they're calling me. I'm in the Cape. Somebody has found Liam's child's phone by the lake. What should we do? I'm like, call the police. Obviously that's the first thing we want to know who this child is. Turns out that the young man, he did lose his phone. He went home, but he lied to his parents. His parents are divorced. Told his mom that he was staying with us all day. Told his dad that mom said that he could leave early. Yeah, that was again another fun one, but we got through it. And when he came back to camp the next week, and I was there, he and I had a nice little chat over when you're supposed to be here. You're here. These are your hours when you're here for me now. I need a note from mom and dad if you're ever going to leave again. So we dealt with that one, and then like I said, our online system was down. So
Dan,
yeah,
what's a CIT?
Counselor in training. So these are the kids that are too old to be at camp, too young to be staff, and a lot of parents do use it as daycare. Okay, we screen most of the kids, and again, I've known this one. He's been in our program since he was in 2nd grade. We screen them, and is this something that you want to do, or is this something your parents are making you do? Because if they're making you do it, I don't want you to be here because you're not gonna get anything out of the program. And every kid has been pretty well coached so far. And oh no, I want to be here. This is what I want to do. And a lot of them do. Some of them are more work than it's worth, even though they're free labor. And we'll sit there and, okay, you're going to take this group of kids to the bathroom. You're going to, make sure these kids get their snacks. They can be very good helpers unless they are not doing what they're supposed to be doing, like walking home when they're supposed to be with us and not communicating with us. So, that was a fun one. But and then yeah, like I said, online system went down, and for us, and anybody who's registered for our programs, I know Michelle, your family does a ton, and Charlie, your family's done a ton. That is everything for us. I mean, that is our lifeblood. And when we don't have access to that, we don't have access to household accounts, we don't have access to rosters, we don't have access to email addresses, phone numbers. I mean, nothing. So that was a tough few days, but. And again, this was a nationwide outage. Apparently they were hacked, and it's a very large company. So, I would say every recreation department that I know, other than Melrose, uses this site. So we were all incredibly impacted by it. But we did get through it. So.
Was that when Microsoft was hacked?
I have no idea. Bob, all I know is at that time, I didn't know what was up, down, left, right. I just needed to make sure that people were where they're supposed to be, and that we took as much accurate information as we could every day from parents to make sure that we had as much information as we could get on the kids. So,
yeah.
Was there any concern about data being compromised?
Nope.
Okay, good.
And honestly, so none of our systems hold credit cards anyways,
Okay.
which is the most important thing. I've had people call up and say, well, what if somebody hacks my account? I go, all they're going to do is register you for a program, and then maybe they're paying for it. There's nothing really ascertain out of there. So that's a good thing. Moving on to programs, since I've got through the bad part of summer, programmatically, things went great. I mean, we had to cancel a few programs this year, which we typically don't do, but we're adding more and more. So I kind of find that when we add more, we are naturally going to have to cancel a few more, but that's okay. We had a new tennis instructor this year. So as I've mentioned before, Sandy Palmer, our longtime tennis instructor, she had moved to the Cape, so she was no longer able to do lessons for us. But she did a great job in actually helping us get a new group. So we had tennis in the parks through the through the National Tennis Association come and do our lessons for us. I thought from my quick observations, they were very organized. They did a very nice job. It's not as often as Sandy was. Sandy would do it for, once a week for 8 weeks. They really did, 6 classes two times a week. So they would do Tuesday, Thursday, and it would go for 3 weeks. I'd like to see something a little bit more comprehensive, but for us to get something off the ground this year and have qualified instructors, I was happy with that. So youth tennis for the summer, we had 22 kids. For Sandy's program, we probably would have had 80, 90. But again, different ranges, different way of running the classes. So we'll try to tailor some of that stuff. But they added adults, which was really nice. And we had a full class of adults of 12, okay? We tried to offer art classes with one of the high school art teachers, Caitlin Lang. Unfortunately, we just didn't get the traction on it this year, but that's something that she and I have talked about that we want to do next year. So we canceled her classes. Blacktop basketball has been a staple for us for as long as I've been here. And I've known that this program is on the downward trend. I've seen it for a while. Every year my first couple of years, we had 100 something, and then we get down to 90, we get down to 80, we get down to 70s. This year we had 50 kids. It's potentially still worthwhile to do. What we're not getting is we're not attracting the younger kids anymore. I think those families are really looking for more of camps clinics than they are of drop it in play for an hour or 2 a week. But the program director and I are going to talk about it and see, a couple years ago we did nights, and we did nights because it's obviously so hot during the mornings, and nights seem to work really well. He was concerned about conflicts with baseball, and I'm concerned about conflicts with camps. So I think if we go back to nights, we might see a jump in numbers again. And again, we're only doing it 2 days a week. But we'll cross that bridge in January, February. And he's pretty much on board that, yeah, the nighttime kind of worked better. If somebody misses once because of baseball here or there, so be it. But if we're not getting kids because they're signed up for camps every week from 9 to noon or 9 to 3, it's kind of a different game. So for my summer program, Club Rec, throughout the entire summer, we had 490 kids through our program. We averaged 82 kids a week. We had an absolutely fantastic staff this year. I actually, for the first year in my 21 years of doing this, I did not train my staff. I actually paid somebody to come in and do a staff training for us, and my staff loved it. So we're looking to bring them back next year. And he does more of the kind of get up, move around stuff. That's not my thing. My thing is sit down, let's talk about what we got to do and get out of there. They really like the interactive training. So we're going to probably pursue that again next year. But we were thrilled with the numbers. I was thrilled with the staff. I think they did a very good job. We had a lot of kids this year who needed extra attention. So I had actually hired one staff to be, for lack of a better term, our special needs instructor. She was fantastic with the kids who needed extra attention, gave it to them. And I think it made us even more successful than we could have been or would have been. Along with the Club Rec program, so that's for kids from grades K to 6. We had our Kids Corner program, and that's for those who are ages 3 to 5. And for that program, we had 128 kids come through the program. We averaged 23 kids per week. We have a fabulous director for that program with great staff. Again, Wakefield really has some quality kids. In the 3 communities I've worked in, Reading, Arlington, and here, these kids here want to work more than the kids in the other towns. And I'm just getting such quality people that I'm really enjoying it and enjoying the kids that we have every year. I'm sad when we lose them, but we're able to bring in some amazing new ones. So that's great. We've always had some programs with right brain curriculum. They do STEAM programs. So they did a Lego Civics program this year where the kids kind of build model cities. and we had 10 kids for that program. They only take a max of 14 anyway, so we were right about there. We did a Lego mathematics program. Again, they incorporate Legos with math. That program was filled. And then we had a MetroCraft or Minecraft program on computers. That program was also filled. So the right brain classes go very well, very popular. At night we have line dancing. During the summer we did 2 nights of line dancing that by popular demand, and we had about 20 people for each of those weeks for adults. So, and the adults really enjoyed that. We were scheduled to do Little Lights yoga this summer. We did them last year. Again, one of those programs that just didn't take off this year for whatever reason. That's for kids who are really like 2 to 5 kind of age range, but it's, you know, 1 day a week from like 10 a.m. to 10:45. A whole lot of variables could be there. Could be nap time, could be play dates, could be story time at the library. Who knows? It didn't work this year, but it's something that we'll try again next year. Cardio dance is always one of our big programs for adults, always filled to capacity, which is 25 people because that's all we can fit in the Heritage Room. So SNL does, you know, an all sports program for us. They typically do it on the weeks that my camps or my programs aren't operating. So they would do the week after, or the day after school gets out, the week after school gets out, the week leading up to the 4th of July. And then after my program ends in the middle of August, they had 641 kids come through their program this summer. Absolutely astonishing number. And that, you know, they do registration not just by week, they do daily drop-in too. We switched from Sport Zone to SNL several years ago, and honestly, it's one of the best moves I've ever made. Their staff are early. So if you know, I have the adage of if you're early, you're on time, you're late, don't bother coming. Sports Zone would love to run in at 8:55 for 9 o'clock class. These guys are here at 8:30 set up, ready to roll. And if they have 60 kids, which they can on any given day, they start with 3. Okay, we're up to 40 kids. Hey, we need another person. Person comes over. Hey, we're up to 50 kids. We need another person. They're keeping their 10-to-1 ratio, and they're doing a fabulous job. So they're aces for me, and their numbers show it. They also did a boys lacrosse program for us this summer, since at the time I didn't have a relationship with the high school coach. So they had 23 kids for that. On the girls' side, they had 13. Again, it's an offering. We're happy to get it out there. They've done a Rec on the Run program for us for several years. Very popular in Wakefield without a track. You know, normally we have 30 to 40 kids. This year we had 15 because we had to do it in Reading. But one nice thing was they did it on the same day. They've never done it in Reading before. This year they did it in Reading. They combined the 2 groups and they made a race. So at the end of the program, it was Wakefield versus Reading. So I thought that was very cool that they did that. Soccer shots for the summer, they had 66 kids in their program. And again, they're weekdays, they're weekends, they're everything. They're easy, and a great vendor. For our summer safety program, we formerly called that HRC, the Health, Recreation, and Cops. We changed the name because people were getting confused with that being the Human Rights Commission. So we called it Summer Safety. And that's where we had the police department and fire department come in. We had 96 kids for that week. It was a great program. Kelly Tobine and Matt Malone, the school resource officers, do a fabulous job with that. So we're lucky to have that partnership. That program will always be here for as long as I'm here. And hopefully that's a very long time. Viking Pickleball, that's a group that we had come in last year from Florida. The woman is a professional pickleball player and coach. So she came up last year through some intermediaries that I had, and she came back this year. I said, hey, would you be interested in swinging up to Massachusetts again? And she couldn't wait to come up. We had 100 people that week for 3 days for her program. So she does a fantastic job, and it's a step above what we currently offer or are able to offer. Wakefield Soccer Association, as always, they have their 3 weeks, super strong numbers. Because Coach McKenzie, there's like no other. He's fantastic. Warrior Baseball, a little bit of a down year, 43 kids. But honestly, I feel like, and Charlie knows this better than I do because he's in the baseball world, there's just so many options for baseball right now for the kids. And I kind of feel like where we did it in the summer, people are just beat. So I'd like to get him back to the end of June, right after the kids get out of school. I think that week works strong for him. He was kind of latest July this year, and I think that hurt. Not that we're upset with the numbers. I mean, 43 kids got something out of that, which is great. I'd love to get it back up to, the 60s. Whereas this is the biggest basketball town I've ever seen. So Wakefield, Warrior basketball, we had 192 kids in the program for 2 weeks. 100 for 1 week, 92 for the next week. Well, it was 101 and 91. Just absurd numbers. I don't know where the love of basketball comes, because I always thought of this as a hockey region. Well, man, basketball is huge in Wakefield. So great numbers there, and just a really well-run program. They use the Galvin indoors and outdoors. And I'd go in there, and it's anybody who's been to the Galvin gym, you've all been there for voting or whatever. It's a big gym, but with 101 kids, it's a lot of kids in a space. They really used it very well, and the kids aren't sitting. They're actually moving the entire time. And I watch drills that Coach Pavey puts out there, and I'm just in utter amazement. So they do a fabulous job. We're lucky to have the boys coach Colin Halpin and the girls coach Jay Pavey work together on this, and it's become a huge success for us and them, because it's a fundraiser for those programs. Wakefield volleyball, as I said, they had 50 kids for a week that we had to cancel. We were able to do 1 week, a couple weeks later, where we had 31 kids in that program. So volleyball is definitely a up and coming program in this town. Last year, they made the Final Four at the high school. And I think we're kind of seeing some of that residual where kids are getting excited and wanting to try it. I know the middle school has a loosely affiliated team run through academy or teams, and they get a lot of kids to try out and a lot of cuts, and the same thing at the high school level. So kids are getting volleyball experience, which is nice. We did Target Soccer Academy again. That's the coaches of Reading, Wakefield, the Northeast Voc, and Stoneham, who come together to run a high school soccer clinics at night. They had 129 kids come through their programs. And quite honestly, again, I will sit there and say, success breeds success. These kids are coming into this program. Right now, Wakefield soccer is 10-2-1 or somewhere along that. Reading's on a little bit of a rut, and one of my good friends is the coach there. So, but they started out really strong until they played Wakefield and got blown out. And the Vogue's 14-0-2. So,
Really?
some real good talents coming through there. Yeah. And then we had a youth cheer program. So, three college cheerleaders ran this cheer clinic for me. One of them being my daughter. She and her two best friends. So Taylor cheered. That's past tense now at Fairfield College. Her friend Bella is a cheerleader at UNH, and their friend Stacy is a cheerleader at Endicott. And they had 59 girls come through their program. They did a fabulous job. This isn't just proud dad moment. This is, how should this be run? How does it look? How are the kids engaged? How are the parents? They did a really nice job running it for the first time themselves. I'm there as, their boss at that time, not just dad or, friends of, their father's friend or the friend's father. But they did a nice job. I was impressed. And that's something that we'll look to do again next summer. It was a nice little paycheck for them to be able to go to college, and it was good for us to be able to offer it. So that's kind of how our summer went. Any questions about summer?
Go have a drink of water,
Oh.
Dave. That was a half an hour speech.
Listen,
Very good.
wait till I get to fall. Fall's even more.
I got a question. The roof drain on the field house. If it wasn't bond, you said, didn't somebody block it up for something that they were
Yeah,
doing?
Bond said it was Left Field's problem, because Left Field was the architects,
Right.
because it
project
wasn't in the
manager.
plan, because it wasn't in their plans.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Bob, you know this world. I don't know this world.
Yeah.
This is your thing.
Don't you?
Well, right. I had asked to file a claim, and I was looking for insurance information. And so my wife does liability insurance, is what she does for a living. So when all this happened, I'm like, Danielle, how do I go about doing this? And she gave me the who, what, when, where, whys. And she's like, if I had this claim come across my desk, I mean, I'm paying this 10 times out of 10. Like, I'm just paying you to get rid of you, kind of deal.
Hmm.
And I kind of kept getting the cold shoulder rub off, and like I said, the volleyball coach is like, let it go. Like yep, it stinks. It would have been great to be able to have that money for the program and be able to pay the kids who were supposed to work that week, but it's beyond our control. It's nothing that we did. So we let it go. But yes, my feeling was the same as yours, Bob. I just won't express it the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions about
Well,
summer?
It kind of seemed like the whole thing got swept under the rug because they didn't really talk about it in the town and what happened.
Yeah.
there.
No, of course not.
Yeah.
No, no, I couldn't believe it when I was telling parents that this is what happened, and I had to every week thereafter for why we were moving programs. There's a lot of questions. I'm like, how did people not know this? How did they keep this so quiet? But it was pretty kept pretty quiet. The loudest mouth was probably me, because I would also have to go down to the field house every single Monday morning, or I'd have my one of my summer staff do it. Like, I need you to stand here. I need you to be at this point. So if anybody comes, you're redirecting them to Galvin. You know, we can look foolish on our own. We don't need help doing it. So we're going to make sure that we don't look foolish. We're going to have somebody down there. And that's what we did. So, yeah.
So Dan, was
Anything else?
the floor covered by just the insurance that the school has?
So as I understand it, the construction company, so the construction company wanted to replace the gym floor. And again, this isn't really our purview, but I'll tell you the story anyways. The construction company wanted to repair the floor on the cheap. They're like, oh, it's only going to be here for a couple of years, and then you got a new school, so don't even worry about it. Doug Lyons, to his credit, said, nope, we had this here. This is what we want here. We want a wood floor. We don't want composite. Composite's not good for the knees, ankles, otherwise. We want another wood floor. So Doug beat him into submission, got another wood floor put there. That bond had to pay for. So again, they obviously accepted some blame for it because they paid for the new gym floor. They're not going to pay $7,000 so we can do our thing with volleyball, but I moved past that. I don't want any more PTSD.
So I didn't mean to like dig
Yeah.
at an old wound.
Yeah, was scratching at that scab again, Bill. You know,
it was just that it was new. Like
Yeah.
that gym was in such great shape. That was like the one
It was
part of
always
the high school that
it
didn't
was a
need to be like
gem.
great.
It was an absolute gem of a floor, and I explained it every week for 7-8 weeks this summer as to what was going on there, and parents like all of you would sit there and say, well, why isn't this out there? And I'd sit there and say, well, it's not my story to tell. I'm just, I'm adapting on the fly because this is what I have to do.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how it wasn't out there, but it wasn't out there. And the nice thing is it is repaired. It looks great. And it'll be used for the next couple of years until the new school.
Good.
Yep. Anything else summer wise?
For the outdoor fields, did you have any issues with not having enough space for all the programs? Okay.
No, we're always, because Charlie, with recreation, and you have background in this. We use whatever we can. If I've always sat there and said, so I have a phys ed background. If you give me a classroom to teach in, I'm going to teach PE in the classroom. If you give me a big field, I'm going to adapt to the big field. If you give me a closet, I'm going to work within the closet. Our job is to figure it out and just make it work. And I don't find that any groups really need that much space. I had 1 week this summer where we had, actually, I forgot that we had McDavitt field hockey too, which her programs were incredibly filled. 1 week this summer, we had youth football starting up. So they needed their space because the kids need X amount of days of training, conditioning before they can wear helmets. So it was that first week for them. They needed field space. The band needed field space. The field hockey program that we have at night for high schooler, they needed field space, and Target Soccer Academy needed field space. And they all, because of these sizes of the programs and the size of the kids involved, they all needed full fields. So youth football, I was able to move them to earlier in the day. And youth football in Wakefield, their director, Richie Curran, Richie and I go back a long way. We grew up together. He left Reading and actually went to Stoneham for junior, senior year of high school. But so we have a great rapport. I could ask him for anything, and he's like, "Yeah, what do we got to do?" So it was so easy to figure it out. Band was able to do what they needed to do. Soccer got in what they got in, and field hockey got in what they needed in. And then football's like, oh, we'll just come after them. Like, we don't care if we're starting at 7:30. So we're lucky that I have groups who are in band, fabulous to work with. If I ask Tom for something, he's giving it to me, especially where we're in the crunch. And if he needs something, I'm figuring out for him too. We're in a good spot.
Yeah, I saw soccer playing in the outfield and the cellar this
Yeah.
summer too, so that's good.
Yep. And we'll get into field stuff too. So moving to fall. So when I was going over all this stuff today, I said to Karen, I go, Karen, this is the most stuff we've ever offered in the fall. And we're not sure why or how, but we're thrilled that this is the case. Fall is usually a handful of programs for us. Excuse me. We have a lot going on. So, again, we had youth tennis. So we had 22 during the summer. We were up to 30 for the fall. Great. We're seeing the trend up. Adult tennis, again, 12 people, full. We've been offering a biddy basketball program. We've done that in the past. We currently have a program going on that I think ended last week. 33 kids were in that program. We have another one starting up in 2 weeks. 44 kids already signed up for that with more time to register. We're doing a ceramic pumpkin workshop. So we have a woman who's going to come and decorate ceramic pumpkins. That was actually a couple weeks ago. 5 people were signed up for that. That's great. We never know what to get for these. We can run them. We're happy. Children's Playhouse. We've done this forever. Children's Playhouse. They are doing the Lion King this year. They have 54 kids in the program maxed out. We are doing some children's painting workshops, and Charlie knows all about this because his kids have been signed up for them. Unfortunately, we had to cancel our first one, but we have them coming up in November and December, and we have 11 kids total signed up for the 2 programs. So those are certainly going to run.
Okay, good.
Excuse me.
My kids were the only 2 for the first
They
one.
were the only 2 for the first one. Yep, they're not this time, Charlie.
Good, good.
And then we have we've been doing some programs with the recreation director in Melrose, Frank Oliveri. Frank does a lot of mindfulness classes, and he's doing one de-stressing for the holidays. That program right now has 17 people signed up for it, which is great. He did a mindfulness class a couple weeks ago. 25 signed up for that, full capacity. So those are going very well. Cardio dance, 20 people in each class. Youth field hockey. So we're doing a field hockey league, we'll call it. Yeah, it actually is a league. They play in other towns traveling. We have grades 1 and 2. We have a team for grade 3, 4, grade for team 5, 6, grade for team 7, a team for grade 7, 8. We have 76 kids in that program. That is run by the Tufts coach, Tina Matera. She's absolutely fantastic. So lucky that we have her. Fencing, we have now combined. Well, we've taken over Reading's fencing program. The fencing instructor who I've worked with for 20 years, Michael, he just got kind of tired of bouncing around to multiple towns. So he's only doing it in 2 places now. He's doing it with us and with Arlington. He's got 42 kids in the program, or 42 people in the program, because Michelle can tell you that, her son is in it and her husband's in it. So, we have the adult program, and Michael does a fabulous job. We have a home alone safety class coming up, also taught by Frank from Melrose Rec. Right now, we only have 6 signed up, but it doesn't matter. It's an online class, and whoever we get into that class and teach the kids how to feel safe at home alone, great. Pickleball is what it is. We can never have enough space for those. We have a new program that's going to happen on Veterans Day. So I realized coming up that there are days coming up where parents are going to need care, because though it's a holiday for me, other people have to work. So we did a Kids Just Want to Have Fun, it's called. It's a arts class run by actually a dear friend of mine. She's a kindergarten teacher in Reading, and one of her partners, they wanted to get together and do some more stuff. Now that her kids are older, she's like, I have more time to commit to doing things and do a little side hustle work. So she put together this Kids Just Want to Have Fun program. It's arts and crafts based. She has 18 kids right now for Veterans Day. And we're also doing SNL that day. And though registration's slow right now for that, I fully expect that we'll have at least 50 kids on that day, minimum. and we're also doing SNL for Election Day. And again, we expect that that's going to be a big number. We have pine cone kissing ball class. Same person who's doing the ceramic pumpkin class. She's doing the kissing ball class. She has 6 signed up for that right now. Soccer shots for the fall have 88 kids registered, which is a staggering number. They're doing a great job. We are working with another new program called Sound Play Music. I've been dying for years to get in a toddler class that's music based. We have been partnering with them since late spring last year, but they've been an established business in Linfield and in Reading, and they work with the collaborative arts, whatever it is in Reading. And she's used to renting space there. So when we started our collaboration, she was very much under the, well, I still want to handle registration. I'll just kind of pay you for rental space. And okay, we can do that, but just know that we're not as invested. When it's under my umbrella directly, you're going to get all our services. You're going to get us marketing. You're going to get us talking about you. You're going to get us putting out releases. You're going to get us putting stuff on Facebook. We're going to hype you up. We'll handle all the registrations. All you got to do is go teach the class and send me an invoice. And she was hemming and hawing a little bit, and her numbers weren't strong. So I just got her to come underneath our umbrella fully. And she's doing a free demo class to start, because I said, you want to hit this. Nobody knows who you are yet. So let's do a free demo class. So she's doing a pajama. I'm sorry. Well, she's going to do 2 different classes. She's going to do a Halloween party next Wednesday at the Civic Center, 10 o'clock. And this is for kids, really toddlers. And she already has 15 registered for that day. It's a free program, but this is going to get her to be able to talk about her program, show it off. Then she's going to do one on the following Saturday after Halloween, and that's going to be a pajama jam. So the kids will come in their pajamas, will be, stories and playing their instruments. So we think that we'll see good numbers from this and get a good return out of it. Youth climbing program, 20 spots from Central Rock Gym, we would fill it. As it is, we're only able to do 12 spots total between us and Woburn. So we both collaborate on this program together. We have 8 of those spots right now. Woburn's not getting a whole lot of traction. We have a wait list of 12. So people really want this class. And we keep telling them, hey, listen, just give us the full day because we'll fill your class. So yeah, we had 8 last session. We have 8 right now. And again, I have a wait list of 12. So big program. We're doing photography classes. We started the summer a little bit with Hunt's Photo in Melrose. And that's for teenagers. We have 3 kids who have signed up to learn photography. So that's going very well. And they're a great group to work with. And then finally we had a smart cycling class that we did with John Chrisley, who's on the Safe Streets program. John's an avid rider. So he was doing a smart cycling with parents and their kids. We had 6 people signed up for that program. That was held a couple weeks ago. They did some classroom work in the Civic Center. And then they went to the parking lot for the Boys and Girls Club off to the side, and they actually did some road work with the kids, which was really nice. And then SNL flag football, obviously one of our staples. 236 kids in the program this year, a little bit down from past years, but that has ebbs and flows anyways. I know we're never going to be at Reading's rate of 970 kids, which is about what they have. We have what we have, and they do a fabulous job. The gentleman who runs the program for us is the same guy who does the Biddy basketball classes. His name is Lance Doughton. If you know anything about Massachusetts basketball, Lance is the coach of Cambridge for many years. Hall of Fame coach and a Hall of Fame person. Played football actually at the University of Michigan. Coached, like I said, Massachusetts Hall of Fame basketball coach, and one of the nicest people I've ever met in my life. And when I know he's at that program, I feel so good. This is the first year in 10 years that I haven't got one single complaint. So we left the program's over now. 236 people were in that program, not one complaint. That's fantastic. So that's what we've had for fall. Any questions about that? Nothing. All right. Moving forward to spaces. So We'll start with Albion. As you guys have probably read in the newspaper, because it was put out there that the town council is looking at handicap accessibility and obviously an elevator over there. I do think the elevator cost is a little off, if I'm being honest. I've heard much different numbers because we don't necessarily need an elevator, we just need a lift system. I've heard it could be up to $250,000, but those are going to happen. Those are happening at some point. I don't know when, but they're happening. And then there
Dan,
was,
I thought
Yep.
there was some deal with the people doing the bank that they were gonna put in the elevator or.
no, they're going to give us access to, so I don't know what's going on with the bank. I think that whole thing has changed, and you probably know better than I do since you're in that neighborhood. But they were going to give us means of egress to the back where we could put the handicap accessibility.
Okay.
That's what they were doing. Excuse me, I have a tickle in my throat. The other thing is there was recently a complaint filed to the building department, the fire department, and it's supposedly going to the fire marshal from a resident of the neighborhood of Albion about the max capacity of the space within the Ace building.
Come on.
Huh? And you know who it is. We are now at a max of 47 people in that space at any one time. This
In the
not
entire building?
for the entire building, because there's no fire suppression in there. So we do need to put fire suppression in there as well. So there's an investment that needs to go into this building. And here's the thing. This is not unknown. This is stuff that was known before we took over the space. Somebody wants to enforce that stuff or make sure it's enforced. I know that it needs to be done. I'm not going to not acknowledge that it needs to be done. But I also know that this is somebody with an agenda. So we'll leave it at that. I'm actually happy that suppression is going in there because I never would want a space that's unsafe. But that's where we are with that. And I think I'll just kind of cut my losses there before I say anything I'm not supposed to. Okay. Everybody kind of know where I am with that. Okay. But we do have shows going on there. So during the summer, my arts and crafts director for my summer camp, she is just the best. Yana Herzog is her name, and Yana is an absolute doll. She said to me this year, she said, Dan, I'm an art student at college, and one thing I need to do for my classwork is I need to be able to say I offered some kind of show or did something with art. And I said, oh, Yana, I have an idea for you. Why don't we, since you're the arts and crafts director, why don't we take some of your crafts that you do with the kids and do an art show at the end of the summer for them? Every week or every day, just take a couple pieces of work that you've done from a couple kids, and we'll do a big art show in Albion. Well, she did it. And she got a couple of the staff to volunteer their time to help her set up for this art show. And it was absolutely fantastic. I was so proud of the kids who did the projects. So proud of the staff who gave their time to go and set it up. They made a little pizza party for themselves while they were doing it. And then to bring the kids down and show the artwork. It was fantastic. It's one of those moments as a professional where you're like, all right, we've done something really special here. And that was the moment for me. And then of course we're there, and one of my nitwit counselors, and I call him nitwit with absolute pride because he's just an awesome kid, but they're nitwits to me. He starts playing the piano, and I'm sitting saying, when did this become a skill? Well, apparently he taught himself how to play the guitar and the piano, and he just started ripping off songs that were current to the kids, and it was again a wow moment. I'm like, how does he know how to do that? And it was the kids all stood around him, kids were singing. I mean, it was an awesome moment, an awesome day. For all the hard days you have at summer, that's one of the last days that we had of our program. It made it all worth it. So, that's something that we hope to make an annual tradition, that we do our summer art show. So we did that. We had a quilt show with the Thimble Nimblers, a local group of knitters. They in quilters. They did a show in September for a few days. And the stuff that they had in there was just amazing. I'm certainly, that's certainly not my world, but I can be impressed when I see something that's incredible, and that stuff was incredible. We have a current show going on right now with the Arts Collaborative. I think they wrap up actually on Friday night. So if you haven't got a chance to get over there, please go check it out. They have some wonderful pieces of work over there. We're still doing the improv shows on the second Thursday of every month. We still have tap dance lessons on Monday nights of every week. We're doing a singer-songwriter showcase. Or we're not. There's a group that's coming in to do a singer-songwriter showcase on November 17th. And then we're looking to do some more kind of those things at that space. We want to add, again, keep adding more classes in there. I want to use that as much as we can because it is a good space. It's not used enough. I'm still trying to work with the town to see if I can get somebody to work as kind of my assistant director and manage that facility. I will not ever pretend that I know the arts world. I do not. I draw stick figures if I'm lucky. I can tell you if something looks nice to me, but I don't know the world. So I really want to get somebody in there that's their passion, that's their love. And I think all of a sudden that place is going to soar. But I'm excited about the future there, especially when we get a lift system, because then we can rent out the second floor. In the future, I want to build out the basement. I'd love to do a professional kitchen down there. I'd love to have a kiln down there. I'd love to have classroom space down there. All those things I think can fit. And then, if the fire suppression, again, and the handicap accessibility, those have to happen. So it's going to be a big number at some point, but these are things that, quite honestly, the handicap accessibility should have been done in 1992. We're in 2024. So that's a thing. The fire suppression, kind of important. That's pretty much me, Bob. Yeah, these are things that we'll get through, and they will happen. Any questions about ACE that I can answer? Okay. Seeing none.
I have a question, Dan. Is someone there counting who goes in the building?
No. But I tell all the users it's 47 people. And there's signs that says 47 people. So that's where we're at currently. But again, we'll leave it there. Moving over to AmeriCal, as always, summertime is a little bit lower use, which is okay. But we're busy September 1 through March. And that's the case. We are slammed right now. Finding an hour or two for a birthday party is a struggle even on weekends, because on Reading Youth Pop Warner was looking for some gym time after their kids had attended our summer program, our youth cheer program. Oh, do you have availability? I'm like, well, no, we don't, because we make sure that Wakefield youth cheer gets in here first, and they take Monday through Friday 6 to 8. Well, would you have availability on Sundays from in the morning time? Yeah, I do. Would you have availability in the afternoon time? Yeah, I do. So they rented 9 to 4 every Sunday, which is great revenue and time that we otherwise probably wouldn't have used. So, so they've been in there for weeks, and it's going well. They're happy. We're happy. Youth football and cheer had actually bought new cheer mats this year. And they gave Reading permission to use them with those as well. So it's been a great little collaboration there. We do have a new Thursday night basketball group. Some of you have participated in the Thursday nights before, specifically Rich. Jim Wheeler was unable to kind of get that group to kind of continue. So we have a new person running the show for them, Joe Serino. Joe's been around for ages, loves basketball, has always told me, if you ever have time available, I'll take it. So my first phone call, once I got the, hey, we're done here kind of thing, was to Joe, and sounds like he's good to go. If he's not, I can easily shift it to pickleball. So we will always find that space, and it'll always be used. So that's kind of where we are with facilities. Any question on those facilities?
I noticed you had Pokemon a couple of times at the Civic Center.
We had what?
Right. Pokemon? Pokecon?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
thank you, Charlie. Yeah. So there's a group in town, or a gentleman in town, who Katie Holdings is the name of the company. His name is Kyle Doherty, and Kyle's a resident and nice. I'm gonna call him a kid because he's younger than me. Kyle's probably in his late 20s, early 30s, and he has this little business. It is his business that he's into Pokemon cards. And he said, "Hey, I want to try this Pokemon convention where vendors will come in and sell their cards or trade or their stuff." I'm sure let's try it. So I rented him out the space as we would for any of these kind of events. And he had, like, I think he said for the first time, he thought that he might get 50 people. He had 300, so he had 300 people come through.
And
And
not
then
only
the,
that, he
47
did
at a
them,
time.
and then he had a month later.
and then he had one a month later,
Oh,
and he
wow.
had like another 500.
Yeah.
So
And now they're at the high school. So are they
yeah,
coming
and now
back?
he's moved over to the high school for this time of year because he knew up front there's no chance I was gonna be able to do it with him. But yeah, he's got good numbers, and it's a nice little thing. And I did get an email from a concerned citizen who was very flustered that we would allow such a thing in where the people quarried for the thing. And no, we don't quarry them because they are renting out the space. They also didn't like the signage, and I agreed with the signage. I would have preferred that they gone through our vendor to put a sign in the slot out front as opposed to their banner. But no, we didn't quarry the vendors, even though kids were there. They're renting out the space privately, and the kids are coming with coming with the parents to these things. So yeah, but great success. And again, a nice local kid who's running this, and he's done a real nice job. He's created a market for himself. I did try to convince him not to do it monthly because, again, I come from the phys ed background of peak fun. When you get to the peak of the game or whatever, the crescendo, you stop it because you leave wanting more. But I tell you what, he's proven me wrong so far. So
I'm shocked.
he's proved me wrong so far. I think it will come at some point. He's gonna have to give it a few months.
Right.
But he's probably gonna hit it hard for the holidays right now, and actually he's wise to do so because you can go get a couple cards for your kids for Christmas or whatever it is you celebrate, and yeah, they'll have a nice little gift there. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Charlie, because those were fun events, and he was really an absolute pleasure to deal with. I deal with a lot of renters. He's the first one who's ever chased me to pay me. He's like, "Listen, he come in the Friday before. I owe you money right now. I want to settle that today." I'm like, let's make sure the event goes off. You never know what can happen between now and then. Something can happen. No, I'm paying you right now. He'd get his own chairs and tables delivered. He'd make sure that they were picked up before I got back in on Monday. Like, he was aces to work with. So we look forward to dealing with him again. Yeah. Any other questions regarding facilities? No. All right, fields are fields. Obviously we're -1 turf field, and we've really been able to work it out. I never realized. I always kind of thought that if we were going to build a new high school, if we lost Walsh, it was going to crush me. And we'd be okay. We'd be able to manage Beasley. I really wish it was the opposite now. I could have survived no Walsh and much more than Beasley, but we're working it out. The band, again, Tom Bankert has been an absolute joy to work with. When we had no athletic director in town, and as you guys are probably aware, Brendan Kent moved on. He went over to Everett to be an assistant principal. It's always been his dream to be a principal. And I think he was kind of getting burnt out from the athletic director stuff. And, it's one of those very thankless jobs, the AD position. But he moved on, and we have a fantastic new AD who I was involved in the hiring process. When Brendan announced his departure to me, and I knew a few days before it came out, my first thing was I went to Doug Lyons and said, "I don't care what happens. I need to be on this hiring committee. I want to know who I'm going to work with, because that's the person, other than Dennis Fazio, that's the person I work closest with in town. And whoever's there impacts my job." And Doug was great. He said, "Hey, listen, we love to have you on board." So I was on the process. I was part of the second round of interviews, and the two candidates who went to Doug, one obviously the current AD, the other one is actually a good friend of mine from college. She was the She was an AD at Somerville at one time, but I think she's more in the director of PE role now there. They're two separate jobs. And they end up hiring Mike. Mike was actually going into this, you see a name and you're like, oh, I'd love to work with that person because I know them really well. Mike ended up being my favorite candidate. I was really impressed by him. I thought his energy would match mine. His values matched mine. He was going to come in and, work with, not against, didn't come with any conditions or whatever. Like, he wanted to ingratiate himself first. And, I'm thrilled to be working with him. So, but before he was here, Tom and I took on the leadership of dealing with the fields because, well, he needs what he needs, I need what I need, and we need to make sure the high school got what they got. So, we kind of got that stuff rolling. We did at one time the lights. So you all know that I can turn on the lights from my phone, or from a computer. Well, the lights at Landrigan went down. The remote system went down. It was eaten by some kind of rodent. So they were down from sometime in late July until 3 weeks ago. We could turn them on remotely, but somebody had to go into a box to turn them on at the site. And of course, the last thing that anybody would want is hands that don't know what they're doing, touching breakers and such. And you can tell somebody as many times as you want, here's what you need to do. I could put it in a banner. I could put a skywriter. I could have whatever there, and they're going to still do what they're going to do. So we got it fixed. It was $8,400 to replace that system. Thankfully, right before Brendan left, we got the number, and I said, Brendan, you've already announced that you're leaving. Do you have the authority to say that you're going to pay for half of this? And he said, yep. So Brendan paid for half, I paid for half. So we got the lights are all fixed there, but Tom and I scheduled things out. He took, I took Mondays, Thursdays for youth football at Landrigan. Tom took Tuesday, Wednesdays, and then if there's a Friday available, Tom took that as well. And then we worked on the Saturday, Sunday morning stuff. It's all worked out. It's worked out great. Youth soccer gave me time for the youth field hockey program. Youth football's been using Walsh when they need to, or Nacelle when they need to. It's all working out, thankfully. Now, after this fall, I'll meet with all the user groups and say, what worked, what didn't, what do we need, what do we not need? Youth football has talked about maybe doing, so Reading rents portable lights that are on the softball fields at the high school. Bob would know those very well. They put portable lights there for youth football because Reading has the 2 turf fields, but because there's so many teams, they need to get on when they need to get on. So they're not guaranteed turf time. So they will use the fields here. Youth football, I actually was at a golf tournament, not a Wakefield one, and I happened to meet a couple guys who were there from Wakefield. They were involved with youth football. I said, would you have any problem if we did light rentals and put it at Sullivan? And I'm just throwing out a field. And I'm like, no, we can do that. If we need to do that for a couple of years to get more space, we can do that stuff. So that's something that we'll talk about next year. It's something that I actually pitched to youth football last year around this time. I said, hey guys, field space is going to be really tight. Band's going to need what they're going to need. High school's going to need what they're going to need for sports. You're going to be lower on the pecking order. We should consider doing some portable lights. And it was like, yeah, we'll see how it goes. And we've seen how it's gone so far. But they might look into renting some portable lights, putting it at a field, and they'll use that field for practices, especially where it's getting darker now. It's getting harder. So, we shall see how that all goes. And then there's still progress happening at Moulton. So, we talked about before that was going to be a street hockey rink and pickleball court and basketball court and bocce courts. And we were talking about having a board system at one time. Well, to do all of that, especially with the board system, the number grew into the 7 digits. Okay, 7 figures. So we've scaled that back. And I met with Dennis and with Bill Renaud, the town engineer. And it looks like we're going to do the tennis court there at Moulton. We're we're gonna have it resurfaced, refenced, and we're gonna make one side street hockey fenced in, the other side basketball fenced in. No pickleball court there because, quite honestly, I don't want to impact the neighbors, and that's literally right in their backyard. So we're not gonna do that there, and we're gonna do the bocce courts. The DPW is gonna do the bocce stuff. In fact, they're gonna do most of the demo work, from what I understand, and then we'll have somebody come in and do the court itself and the fencing. So it's looking like a drastically lower number, and apparently the money's there to do it. Where I don't know, it's certainly not coming from me, or from the rec budget, but it's there, and this is going to happen. So we're going to see some improvements there, which is great. And then, while I was,
Yeah, we never got money from the Bruins.
so somebody along the lines dropped the ball with that. I don't think it would have been the number that we wanted. And I think that people were slow getting numbers on what it was all going to be. And like I said, the board system itself was going to be $400,000+. So I think at that point, it kind of became well, we're just going to pass that off. And actually, the contact that I got for the Bruins actually left. So I don't even know who's at the Bruins Foundation anymore, or who their contact would be. Once I made contacts with people, I kind of stepped aside, and kind of where we are. So, but it'll give the kids who want to play street hockey a place to play, a dedicated place to play, in a nicer basketball court, because the basketball court that's currently there will become the bocce courts. So
And
there's a lot of things that are happening, and it's cool. And while I was talking to town engineer, I said, "Hey, Bill, one thing I want to talk about in the future is there's a basketball court over in Moulton. I'm sorry, Maple Way, and it's so far removed, and it's not heavily used. What do we think about turning those into pickleball courts?" And knowing what we spent at McKenna Courts at Vets, the number wasn't huge. I mean, listen, it's a lot of money, but in the grand scheme of what the town does, or even for capital improvement, it's not a huge number. Or if we needed to do an article, and we're probably looking at $150,000-$200,000, and we get 6 courts there, and run conduit. So if we ever wanted to light them, we could. I'm not saying that we do that now, because that's where the big number is the lighting. But that would help solve a lot of issues with the pickleball world, which we'll get into. And so that's something that we're going to explore once we get through Moulton, because I don't like to inundate people with so many things at once. I like to give them time to get that one done, and then we'll jump to the next. So, but that's a conversation that we're certainly going to have at some point, because pickleball.
That's a great spot for it, because you're right. There's no real neighbors at that court.
No, it's not. And it's a good space to put it. So it's something that we're going to certainly look at.
with the changes to the Moulton area, will the fitness court be staying there?
Yes, the fitness. Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay, because I assumed
We spent a
with
lot of money on that,
Waycross-
Michelle.
Yeah, I figured that. I was like,
Yeah.
that's new.
And I got
Okay.
yelled at a lot about that. So that yeah, let me make
Gotcha.
sure that stays there.
Okay,
I got some crosshairs over that one.
understood.
Good question though.
Okay,
Yeah, in fact, that project, the Fit Court project, is actually what started all of this. The rest of the ball started rolling based off of that project. So we want to make that a facility that people want to go to, and while kids are playing street hockey, whatever, mom and dad can get a workout in. That's kind of what we're looking at.
sounds good. Thanks.
Any questions about fields? It's all pretty standard.
Dan, there were lights at Beasley, right? So those.
No, there's no lights at yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, there were lights at Beasley.
Okay, so there aren't any now.
No, there's not now.
So are they being stored someplace to be?
Somebody asked me that question probably 10 days ago, Gene. I couldn't tell you who it was, because I can't tell you what I did 10 hours ago. And we sat there and said, well, those are probably gone now. So they were probably removed and probably shipped off somewhere, because those would have been fantastic. In fact, I think it was Dennis that I had the conversation with. I would have loved to have been able to move those over to Vets, because I'm always looking to improve the lighting at Vets for a multitude of reasons. For softball purposes, for the pickleball courts. And my selling point is always, that's also our med flight location. And we have had numerous times where somebody's calling me at night to find out what the code is to turn on the lights at, or to unlock the lights at Vets to be able to flip a switch that's over by the Hartshorn house. Whereas if anybody else has access to be able to turn the lights online, boom, they could just do it with a push of a button. And I actually put that in for an ARPA article for ARPA funding, and it was one that didn't make it off the ground. So
But
Yeah.
so, I mean, they were up there. So they
they were
on-
up there. Yep. But again, school projects are not my purview. So
But I mean, somebody put them someplace,
well,
right?
they could
They
be.
can't have thrown them out. They're
might have.
thousands worth of
They
equipment.
might have. I have no idea.
Well, that's not good.
I thought I
Nice.
heard that they worked with some other nonprofit or some other organization and shipped them out to repurpose them.
School
For-
project. I'll just go to that. It's a school project, and I had nothing to do with it. So I don't know where they are. I never asked the question. Nobody told me that when we get a new Beasley, here's what I know. It'll have new lights.
But I mean, those lights weren't that old. They could have been used someplace.
Oh, they could be used for the next 30 years.
Right, so,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they were moved out of town.
Yeah,
But
I
I-
agree with Charlie. I've read something about the lights being donated or
Yeah,
to some organization that repurposes the lights.
it would have been great to keep it in town, but I think the timing worked out somehow that the other organization was able to come and take it at no cost and yeah.
It's a question for the school department or the permanent building committee. It's definitely not a recreation committee question, and definitely not one that I have an answer to. So
oh, I mean, the lights were on the fields that the recreation department,
that we manage, we don't own.
no, I know we don't own them, but we manage them, so.
Oh, we manage a lot of things, but
Yeah.
that doesn't mean they give me answers.
I know, but I mean, that's thousands and thousands of dollars worth of equipment that,
Yep. They'll say it's a town project. Town knows. I don't need to know, and I don't know.
yikes.
Yep. So pickleball, Rich, are you on? Let's
Yes,
see. Okay. So you want to start this conversation since you know a little bit more about it than I do.
yeah, I'm outside, so I hope it's okay to hear me. I don't know much. I talked to two of the folks that were there playing pickleball. I was not there. But so my understanding is that the group had rented the courts or reserved the courts. They had organized a round robin tournament for the folks that had signed up on playtime, and they were down there, in the middle of their round robin when Jim Fitzgerald showed up with 3 other people and basically tried to muscle him off one of the courts, claiming that he was running a, I guess, what did he call it? He called it a makeup lesson for the people that he was playing with in the name of the rec. They obviously showed him their reservations that they had through the system, and he got testy, I guess would be a nice way to put it, belligerent, yelled a lot, and made some threats and made it just a generally pretty uncomfortable situation all around.
Excuse me.
Okay, so here's kind of the backstory, folks. So I'm gonna try to stay away from names because we're in a public forum here, and I don't want to slander anybody. Okay. We have a gentleman who runs some classes for us, free of charge. He does it out of the kindness of his heart to run classes for us. And he was in my office on Thursday. Now I 99.999% of the time rent the courts for him. And his rental for me ended on the 13th of October. Okay. Now, there are no real makeup classes in our situation because I also have the Civic Center booked for him. So if there's any rainouts, you move the classes over to the Civic Center, right? So Gentleman came into me on Thursday and said, "Hey, I'm going to offer an extra class. Do you mind?" Oh, I don't care. They paid me for the class. I'm not paying you for the class. If you want to do this out of the kindness of your heart because you like the sport that much and you want to help, I'm all for it. And he said, "Okay, I've looked at Play Local, the site that we use to reserve the courts, and they appear open. I'm going to reserve it." Okay, go ahead and do it. I don't know if they're open or not. He's telling me they're open. Go ahead. So I go by my weekend as I would any other weekend. Go to a nice, lovely wedding on Friday. And if you know me, you know I don't like weddings because that means I have to wear a pair of pants to somewhere, long pants, and I only wear shorts. And then Saturday I went to, it was Parents' Weekend in Fairfield, so I went with my wife to go see our daughter in Fairfield. So I come to work on Monday, all happy with a smile on my face, and the first thing I see in my email is incident at McKenna Courts pickleball, and it's from a gentleman who I'm familiar with, who apparently had reserved the courts 2 weeks ago to do this round robin, as Rich was speaking about. And our instructor showed up at the courts and caused a scene. Now, I've had a couple people, I had one other person from that group come to my office and talk to me, and I know all the people involved. I see them all the time, whether they're at the Civic Center or otherwhere. I see them, so I know them. So he came and gave me the story that matched the write-up. Somebody else came into my office earlier today who told me the other side of things. Now, I haven't talked to my instructor yet. He sent me a few emails, but it was nothing about what happened. It was about, he was sending me, here's who rented the courts, here who was playing, here's the people who were on this whatever playtime schedule list. I don't care about those things. What I care about is what happened. And I said, let me get through a few things and we'll talk about it. We'll figure this out. And we are going to figure things out. So somebody else came to my office today and gave me some other information that counters some of what the other claims were. This is becoming a he said, she said thing. And the problem is, and it's a good problem, but every community that has pickleball has this very problem. They all want to play, okay? And we only have so many courts. And people have found ways around systems. So in our case, we have a mixed-use court that is tennis and pickleball. And you can go into our system and you can reserve a pickleball court, or you can reserve a tennis court. What people are doing, they're reserving one full tennis court for 2 pickleball courts. And then their friend is reserving the other one for the same thing. And this group we're talking about here, many of them rent the courts 7 days a week for 3-hour time blocks. So there's no solution around that at the moment. Okay. And I'm not saying that our instructor was by any means right. Anytime you're going to use the recreation name for something, you better be above board. Again, I said it earlier, I can make myself look stupid. I don't need help doing it. I think I've worked pretty hard to keep my name in a pretty good light. I don't want anybody tarnishing that. And that's a conversation that I will have with our individual. But I also don't know what's going on. I don't know the full story. I'm getting one side and then getting snippets from another side. And it might, for me, for that individual, if this is what happened, it was a bad day for him because I have never seen that side. I see somebody who's flatlined at all times, never high, never low. So are there outside factors that contributed to this? I don't know. I don't know a lot of it right now, but I'm going to figure it out. Now, on to the pickleball issue that we have. We now know, and I've only discovered this within the last couple of weeks, that people are blocking times 2 weeks in advance, which is their right, for 3 hours at a whack. And then they go on to this thing called Playtime Scheduler, which I understand what it is because I've gone on it. People have tried to sell me on it multiple times. I don't like it. I don't find it user-friendly, and there's no guarantees in it. just because you sit there and say, okay, Gene has the courts from 5 to 6, and I'm looking for 8 other players. That doesn't mean everybody comes because there's no money involved. I can only come from 5 to 5:15 is what people will do. Well, what about the rest of the time? And playtime schedule it was a big issue and is a big issue in Reading. I know that. Some people love the playtime schedule. I'm sorry, some people love play local. I like it because it's a very easy system to manage from my end. Another group does it for me. They send me money. It's fabulous, right? I don't lose in this end. But people are taking advantage of that system. Woburn does a pass. People buy a $25 annual pass. And that they call it annual, but it's really seasonal because it only goes from like 3 months, and they'll sell so many of them. And then people can reserve courts through whatever system they use. Other places have a system where there's, like, for lack of a better term, a shoe rack on the side of the fence, and you put your paddles in there, and that's who goes onto what court. In the gym, we use a whiteboard. You write your name on the whiteboard, and those show who's up next on courts. There's no perfect system in this world. What I want to do, and this would be after the new year, because at this point, we are where we are. We're just going to finish out. I'm not going to change anything at this point. I want to put together a small task force of people whom are in the pickleball world, 5 of them, because I don't want to get too many cooks in the kitchen. Ones that I trust, ones who are invested. Rich, it's something that I'd love to have you on, since you are an avid pickleball player and obviously on the committee.
Yep, I'll do it.
Thank you. And put some people together and find what system works best for us here in Wakefield. I don't want people monopolizing time, but people should be able to have time. And one suggestion, so the person who came to me today made a wonderful suggestion, and she's somebody who I'm going to ask to be involved as well. In a place that she visits in New Jersey. And again, this is a great sport. It's the fastest growing thing that I've ever seen. Everywhere does something different. They do different theme nights in this place in New Jersey that she goes to. So one day is mixed play. So co-ed. Another day's, ladies only. Another day's advanced. Another day is kids. Another day is whatever. And this is really for nighttime, peak time play, right? Mornings, we could still do a reservation system. I thought that concept of different times for different groups was, to me, very attractive. Because we want to make this something for all. If this group who's currently there is playing 4 to 7 every night, prime time, that means that kids who get out of school, youth, teens, whoever it might be, who want to play, aren't really able to. I know for a fact, sitting here right now, pickleball is going to be an MIAA sport within the next 5 years. I know that's going to happen. They've tried it twice already. It's going to go through at some point. I want to start building for that future. I want to give those kids that opportunity. I want to be able to have youth lessons, which I can do. But these kids also want to go play on their own. They should be able to do that. The adults have it all morning long. Not all adults, because some people actually have to go to work, but they have it all morning long. I want to be able to get other people other than this select group. And that's what really, since COVID, pickleball has become, it used to be this very big social game, and it still is. But as opposed to welcoming to everybody, it is these little factions that are forming all over the place. I want to get back to the all are welcome kind of thing. Or straight up, this is my 4 people and this is when we're playing. I don't want people blanketing courts for 3 months, 3 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's just not fair. And we all want to be able to do things. I wish that group, and I know a few of the players involved, I wish they saw it the way I see it. And what's happening too is So Dan McGrath, Reading resident, cannot book the Wakefield courts. I can because I have access behind the scenes. I could do that for myself. I could book it for my friends. To me, I don't like that. It should be Wakefield people booking it for Wakefield people. Wakefield people are booking it for their friends in other towns. They found that loophole in the system because we do not charge residents. We only charge non-residents. Should we go to a system where we charge everybody? I don't know. That's a conversation that obviously I'll have to have with the steering committee. And when we have that conversation, we come to some sort of idea. We're going to come to this body and you're going to vote on it. Okay? Because I think that you all should have a say in what we're doing here. And then if I need to go to town council, we'll do that. I don't think that would be the case. If I do, I still think they'd take our recommendation. So, but I think that this body should be involved in the conversation once we come up with an idea. Thoughts, questions, concerns, or otherwise? Gene, I know that brain is stirring of yours. I know it.
No, I'm just thinking, you said you wanted to wait to the beginning of the year.
Well, because we only have literally a couple weeks left.
Yeah, it's gonna get dark at night.
It's good. on November 2nd, I think set the clock back the day before, I think.
Right.
It's dark at like 3:54. And I'm pretty sure that because the for me to be able to turn the lights on at the fields, I think they turn on at dusk, which is 3:54 that day. So, nobody's playing after 4 o'clock. Realistic.
I'm just thinking that maybe your committee should maybe start working on it now so that it can go into effect at the first of the year, but
Well, it
the holidays
won't matter because we won't be playing out there until April anyways.
Yeah.
Realistically, we're not gonna be out there till April.
I will say, I played in February last year.
Well, so we don't have the courts online at that time.
No, I understand that. I was in another
Oh,
town
yeah, yeah.
playing.
Well, remember last year I also had to lock the
People
gates
will
there.
play as long as it's not icy or snowy or raining, people will
Yes.
play.
Yes, and we will have the courts unlocked during that time. Once we get snow, I will lock the courts again so it does not become a dog park again. Which again was a point of contention last year that I got yelled at by people on Facebook, but that's okay.
that was last year, yeah.
Yeah, and I
Last
again,
year's issue.
go ahead and yell at me for protecting your investment in a court that costs $150,000. I'll gladly take that yelling because I know I did the right thing.
Oh, are you saying like Wakefield people are booking it at no cost because they're Wakefield residents, but they're not using it, they're friends from Reading and Stoneham and Saugus?
Sure.
Or are they?
Well, I think there are Wakefield people
There
booking
are
it,
Wakefield
and I think
playing, yeah.
and I think there are Wakefield people showing up then.
Yes.
But I think they're putting it out on Play Local
Yep.
or not, Playtime Schedule,
Playtime
whatever and people are signing up to come play.
Yep.
So somebody reserves the courts under one system, and then under another system, they invite their friends to play, and they reserve the slots during that time frame to play.
Yep.
Is that what you're telling me?
Yep.
Because
So,
there's
yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think there's a way, does Play Local have a, like sort of an open sign up?
They
ability?
do, but nobody uses it for that purpose because of playtime
Okay.
schedule.
And there's, I know.
Yes, in others,
apps
yes, because that's not the only one.
Yeah.
It's not unique to just that. Yeah.
Yeah, so Play Local is used a lot around Massachusetts. I know that much.
Yes.
To do, just basically say, hey, there's a court here and I'm looking for players in this, sort of experience level.
3.5 players, because they all have these ratings.
And it makes it real clear that it's not a court reservation system. It's just a mechanism for gathering people together to play of similar ability.
Right.
So I guess you just beat them at their own game. You, like the person who went to you, Dan, this morning, you block it off for the rec department 3 hours every day and have
Which,
You can
which,
post it, you can post it to Play Local and say, children under 10, or children over 10, and then our adults over 50, whatever.
Charlie, I can blanket book the courts every day,
Yeah.
all day. I mean, I
Yeah.
could totally do that. But at that point, why do I even have the reservation system?
Right,
It's
right,
like,
no, I'm saying get rid of that, get rid of
You
it
know,
altogether.
it doesn't, we don't have this issue that I'm aware of at Dobbins tennis courts. Maybe the same people are using it, but it doesn't seem like it's abused. Because
It's
I
not
only got one
abused.
complaint.
We use it all the time
Yeah.
and it's not abused. It's a good, it's working system.
Right.
So, yeah,
And it's relatively easy.
yeah,
Once you get registered, it's relatively
of course. Yes.
easy.
Well, I also think the skill level, I think. I don't play pickleball, so
Yep.
don't beat me up on this. The entrance skill level to pickleball might be lower than tennis.
Much lower.
Yeah, so more people are able to play pickleball.
Yes, for a period until you get to a certain level.
Yeah, so that's why maybe tennis is not
And
having
actually,
that issue.
what we're
because not
finding is
many-
the older tennis players who don't want to be playing on that size court anymore are transitioning to pickleball. That's what's really happened because it's a smaller court. You're still getting a good workout. And it's a lot of the same skills. But it's a different game. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
that's
the last time I played, which was days ago, the youngest person there was a sophomore in high school, and the oldest person there was probably 7.
Yeah.
And we were out there playing, and they all could play.
we have a gentleman who comes to the Civic Center who's 88 years old, and he looks unbelievably good. I mean, I hope I look like that when I'm 60 years old. He looks great, and he's there all the time. And it's literally all ages. We have young moms who are there playing all the time. So it's very much a wide disparity, but we
60's
have a
not that
problem.
old, Dan.
Listen, it's not because it's creeping up on me. I'm getting there. I got to hit 50 first, but that's really creeping up close. So I don't want to talk about that yet. But we have a problem, but this problem's not unique to Wakefield. This is every community is going through this in some way, shape, or form. And everybody thinks that their solutions are working, and in some cases they are, and in some cases they're not. We need to find the solution that works best for us. But yeah, I definitely want to go the steering with a task force group, and then come to you all here to get your blessing or send us back to the drawing table and say, hey, think about this again. And my goal would be to be proposing this in March, maybe even late February, so we can get this off the ground. And I don't think whatever we do is going to be a lot of work, or no more work than we're already used to. But I want to make sure that we pick the right things. So any questions, concerns about me doing that? No? Okay. Because again, I've known that we had a small problem. Small problem became a bigger problem this weekend. And again, I'll chalk it up to a bad day and probably some misunderstandings all around. The person who does the classes for us he's a good guy. Had a bad day, bad moment, apparently. Nothing we can't fix. I've talked to a couple of people who were involved, and they are understanding now that I've had conversations with them. I think at the time they were as irritated as the other party was. Two groups mad. People leave mad. People probably say things that they otherwise wouldn't normally say. I know when I had conversations on Monday, all was forgiven, all was forgotten, and everybody's okay, we're gonna move on. And one of the people said, hey, listen, I'd love to have a conversation and find a way to make this workable for everybody. That's where this stemmed from. The guy who complained said, hey, listen, I want to find a way that makes this work for everybody. How can we do it? Great, we'll form a group. And had he not brought it up, we're probably not here today. We'd be talking about this, but I'd be like, oh yeah, I'll find a solution. Because I'm not I don't want to do more meetings. We're all busy already anyways. I don't want to do more meetings in my life, but you know what? This is really important right now. So this is something that I'm going to commit to doing more meetings for, to find the right solution for Wakefield. So we'll do that. We'll come back to y'all and we'll figure it out like we always do. Because we're not, you know, I always say that we're not curing cancer. I wish we were, but it's not what we do here. We try to give good things to the community, and that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna fix it. So
So Dan, would your plan to be to come back to
Yes.
the commission with
with a
this is
proposal.
what we decided, yeah, if yes, we like it, no, we don't, or
Yes.
here are two or three different.
I would like us to have the task force to come with, because they're all people who play. So they're gonna know this world and what really works. Okay. I'd like them to say, here's our concept. Will you back us? That's really what we're gonna be looking for, a blessing. Because at the end of the day, I report, you know, I work with all of you, and I know that people stop Jed and Rich and Charlie and, you know, Bob all over the place and ask them questions about stuff that's going on with the rec department. I know that happens. So I want you guys to be able to say, oh yes, we talked about that in a meeting and here's what we decided. I don't want people to be caught off guard. The last thing you need is me making willy-nilly decisions that are gonna have people stopping in the streets.
I guess I wasn't very clear with what I said. So you got this committee of folks that are, you know, gonna sit down and, like you say, they know that the world and the,
Yep.
you know, the age groups and the
Yep.
skill levels and all that. But is your intention to come back to us and
With
say
one idea.
one idea? Okay, that was the question.
Yep. One idea.
So
I want us to make the one
that
decision that we
idea-
think.
And Sue and I say, go back to the drawing board.
Yeah, and that's fine. Like, hey, did you think about this? Did you think about this? Because Gene, the one thing that you do really well is you analyze. You ask the questions. Well, did you consider this? Did you consider this? Did you consider this? And I can see it in your brain half the time. I can see your face, and I know that you're coming up with something. And I respect it, and I love that, because you make me consider things that I haven't or I wouldn't. You know, so I want to come here and say, here's our concept. What do you think? We like this, and here's the reasons we like it. But I know that people are going to have questions, and that's what this should be. You know, I don't want a rubber stamp. I want did you consider this? Yep. And here's what we consider. Here's why we came to this decision. Because I think the people who are going to be involved in this process, this first process, are all invested in the pickleball community and want to make the best decision for Wakefield. You know, just because one thing works in Reading doesn't mean it's going to work here. Just because Melrose does something doesn't mean it's going to work here. Just because Woburn does something doesn't mean it's going to work here. How do we best work it for all of us?
So the folks you're gonna put on this, like, you know, little committee, say,
Yep.
are they all gonna be Wakefield folks?
Oh yeah.
You and Rich, but the
Oh, yeah.
other. Okay.
Yeah, but I would only ask Wakefield people because they're the opinions that matter. I could go to plenty of people from out of town. I know more out of town pickleball players than I probably do Wakefield players. But I don't care about their opinions. They're not the ones who built those courts. Your tax dollars built them.
The out of town people are gonna say, open up to everybody.
Oh, right.
Oh,
Right.
I
Yeah,
just
right.
like somebody
Not
else.
charging, you know, yeah.
That has gone through the same problem and has some suggestions of how they solve their issue or something.
And one thing I've said to a few pickleball players whom I know who are in town, I said, listen, other towns have formed friends of groups, right? We all want more things for the things that we do, you know, the things that we're involved in. I said to them, please consider doing a Friends of Wakefield pickleball group. Form your group so you can sit there and when you say to me, hey, Dan, the nets look like crap. Okay, I need to get new nets for you. Hey guys, how about you go run a pickleball tournament and have the proceeds come to the recreation department? You can buy the nets. That's what Wakefield Tennis does. The Friends of Wakefield Tennis pays for everything tennis related. And it's great. There's enough people involved in the pickleball community who could do this stuff. And I'd love to see a friends group who can be more involved. Hey, you know, we're going to do a fundraiser. We're going to fundraise for lights at vets. Great. Let's do it. You know, town can't pay for everything. Unfortunately, we all have every department has a list a mile long of things that we want, right? What do we really need? That's where I always come from, wants versus needs. Now, I think we need lights at vets. I really think that's a need. Again, not just for softball play, not just for pickleball play. I really think it's my selling point is always that is our med flight location. God forbid we need it, but a couple of years ago we needed it a couple of times. And one night people weren't able to get me on my cell phone, so they had to go and not that it's a big deal, cut the lock to flip on a light. Why can't we just have it where emergency services has a button, goes right on the phone, just like I do? Be way easier. So, you know, that's I tried to sell that a couple times. I've failed so far. I won't stop trying, not until I retire, and then be next person's problem. But hopefully hopefully it's done before then. We have 11 years to worry about that. Not that I'm counting, but that's what we have. Okay. Yeah. So, you know, it's kind of where I'm at with pickleball stuff, but and everything else. So I don't know if there's any other question. By the way, this is like our second longest meeting ever. This is awesome. Because I got to talk a lot, get a lot of things
Wasn't
up.
last night. You wouldn't.
Listen, I've got a lot of things to talk about. This is good. You know, any questions, concerns, or anything else? Because I've thrown a ton at everybody tonight.
So Dan, you mentioned about the dogs going on the pickleball courts.
Yep.
I still see the dogs going on the turf at the Galvin.
Yeah, it's funny, Jed. So obviously my desk backs up to it.
They,
You know,
they don't go where you can see them. They go on the court closest the field.
They go to the
closest
other one? Yeah.
I
Well,
drive
you
by
know,
that field all the time, as you know.
there's probably kids with bikes on them too.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. You know, and I know that there's a thing in town right now that we need more signage at this, that, and the other thing. And I will say this until I'm blue in the face, until I'm 6 feet under. A sign is only as good as the people who read it. You could put a skywriter, you can have a banner coming across, you can have whatever it is. People can ignore things that they want to ignore.
Oh, I know.
You know,
You think it would be blatantly obvious not to bring your dog onto a turf
one
field.
would think so.
As my dog is running around right now. I mean,
Right. One would think so, but it's just not the case. Society has changed. Society has changed. The common sense is no longer common. So, yeah,
Well, that's unfortunate.
but Gene, it is the reality of things.
I know.
Yeah. You guys have anything for me? Needs, wants?
Just quick,
Yeah.
what is the status of the wheelchair swing or the handicap swing?
That's a great question, Charlie. Wheelchair swing. I don't know. I talk to Dennis daily. I'll ask him. Wheelchair swing. And when I have an answer, I'll shoot you an email.
And did we pick a location? Was
Last
there a
I knew,
location
last
picked?
I knew it was going to be
In
Dolbear.
Dolbear? Okay.
Yeah, and the reasoning behind that was because that's where the most students who had special
needs for it,
yeah, that's where they are. So that was my understanding at the time. And they had the most space to be able to fit that in there.
Okay.
But that's a great question. I know that the Commission on Disabilities is thrilled that it went through, because I haven't heard from the Benjamins, Dan and Louise, in a very long time. That's the one thing that they used to contact me on all the time. And I'm like, no, we got approved. And I haven't heard from them since. So other than to say hello. Yep. Anything else? All right. I've taken up a lot of your time tonight. We will meet again next month. We will meet before Thanksgiving, the week before, because Thanksgiving week for me is like Christmas to most people. I have to go get my 26-pound turkey from Raymond's Farm in Methuen, wrap it with bacon like I do every year, and then I cook all the sides and all the meals. So that's my favorite day of the year, because it's family, it's football, and it's food. So can't ask more than that. But we will meet before then.
In person?
What's that?
In person or virtual?
So we are still remote. I know that the potential to meet hybrid is still in conversations. They have the equipment at the Civic Center to do it. Nobody's been trained on it.
Yeah,
I've turned on that TV a couple times.
I see it like chained up.
Yeah, I've pulled it out a couple times to see how it works. In fact, admittedly, I pulled it out to try to do my fantasy football draft on it with my league, because we use the Heritage Room, and I couldn't even do that. So, and I'm not that technologically challenged, but I couldn't figure it out. So, yeah, but we will get there at some time. I will say selfishly, I do enjoy meeting remotely because, you know, I can wear what I want to wear, and I'm already home and I don't need to drive home now. But yeah, I do love seeing everybody's faces and having our little side conversations. Those are always appreciated. But once we are remote or hybrid, we will have the video will continue. That's not stopping. We will be videoed for every meeting. People will be able to call in remotely for every meeting. We have to provide all that accessibility. So a lot of what we have here isn't changing other than we get to see each other face to face. So, all right. We want to,
Motion to
Motion
adjourn.
to adjourn.
I,
Aye.
it is
Thanks,
8.
Dan.
Thank you all. And honestly, if you have any questions, or Michelle, if you ever want to pop by, please feel free. I'd love to
Sounds
sit
good.
down and meet you face to face because this is the only
Yeah.
time I've met you so far. So, all right.
Sounds good.
Great.
All right.
Thanks all.
Great
Thank
job,
you.
Dan.
Good. Bye.
I.